So these are your two equations for hyperbolas. In the first equation, x squared is first, and the graph will look like this. The hyperbolas will open out towards the x-axis. And then in the second equation, the y squared comes first, and that graph will open up and down. The center of a hyperbola graph is hk. So if h was a 0 and k was a 0, the center for this one would be 0, 0, 0. And then both of these are zeros, so the center would be there also. These two graphs also have a vertex. The two vertices of this graph would be here and here. The distance between the center and the vertice, that is a. In this case, the distance from the center to this vertice would be b, because in this equation, b goes with the y-axis, while x goes with the a. Hyperbola graphs also have foci. Foci is c. Once you find c, you can place your foci on the graph, and the foci will always be wrapped around by the hyperbola. So here we have our first example. So in this equation, there is no h and there is no k. So that means that both of them are 0. So right away we can write down the center is 0, 0. So now that we know where the center is, we go down to our graph and put the center at 0, 0. In this equation, x squared always goes with a squared and y squared always goes with b squared. So we know that a equals 9 and that b equals 2. We go down, and a always pairs with x, so 9. To find the vertices, you go 9 to the right of the center, and you place a point at 9, 0. And then you also place another vertice 9 to the left of the center. So we go down here and place a point there. Because a is the distance from the center on the x-axis, b is the difference from the center on the y-axis. So if b equals 2, and we go down, go up 2, place our point, and go down 2, and place our point. Because we know a and b, we can plug a and b into the equation to find the foci, and find that c squared equals 85, and that c equals the square root of 85. So the foci in this equation, the formula to find the foci is h plus or minus c k. So h is 0 and k is 0. So really, it is square root 85, 0, and the negative square root 85, 0. The square root of 85 is 9.21, so I'm going to put that point there and there. After I know all of my points, I'm just going to ignore the foci, and I'm going to make a box around all the vertices. So there are diagonal asymptotes going from all the corners of the box. And to find the equation of the asymptotes, I'm going to use point-slope form. And I'm going to use the center as my point. So the 4.5 is the slope, because rise over run, rise to run 9. And I plug in the center and I find that the equation for the two asymptotes is 1 over 4.5x and negative 1 over 4.5x. Once I know this, I go from the vertices, not the foci, and I follow the asymptotes. And that is your graph. The last example of a question is where they give you certain parts of the graph and you have to find out the equation. So if they tell you that your vertices are 4, 1 and 4, 9, but they also tell you that your foci are 4, 0 and 4, 10. Because they're asking for the equation, I don't have to be super accurate with my graph. So I'm just going to draw a rough sketch and place my points. From plotting my points, I know that the vertices are at 4, 1 and 4, 9. So the center of these 2 points has to be in the middle. So we know that the center is 4, 5. Now that we know the center, we can measure the distance from the center to one of the vertices. And that is a distance of 4. So because it's on the y-axis, we know that this is b. So b equals 4. And from the center to the foci is the c value. So from the center to c, that's 5. So we know that c is 5. So now that we know 2 of the variables, we can plug it into the equation. And we get 25 equals 16 plus a squared. If you solve this out, you get a squared equals 9, and a equals 3. So I could plot a on the graph, go 3 over and put over here and 3 over in there, but it's only asking me for the equation. So I'm going to plug it in to the equation, which is, in this case, the foci are on the y-axis. So I know that the graph opens up and down. So I'm going to take my formula and see the graph opens up and down, then y squared comes first. So we know what the equation is going to look like, so now we just plug in all the numbers, and we get y minus k. So the center was 4, 5, so that's h and that's k. So k is 5 minus 5 squared over b squared, and b is 4, so that's going to be over 16 minus, and then the x squared part, so we get x minus h, and h is 4, so minus 4 squared over a squared, and we solved and found out that a is 3, so a squared is 9, and that equals 1, and then that's your equation.